At night, the roof of any casino on the Vegas Strip blasts a volcanic spray of neon so intense you can literally see it from orbit. Down below, 200,000 hotel rooms pulsing with life, 4 million people swarming in every single month, dumping $35 billion a year into a relentless, massive machine of spectacle. We're talking dancing fountains and a full-scale glowing Eiffel Tower.
Right in the middle of a wasteland. It's a staggering contrast. You've got this $35 billion fantasy sitting right on the lethal, barren floor of the Mojave Desert. 120-degree heat, zero natural resources for survival. Just a century ago, there was almost nothing here but blowing dust. This city defies geography. It defies the climate. By all logic, Las Vegas has absolutely no right to exist.
So how exactly do you spawn a global empire in the dust? You use concrete, and you use desperation. Back in 1931, the federal government started pouring millions of tons of concrete to build the massive Hoover Dam, suddenly gifting this dry basin the two absolute necessities for survival: water and electricity. At the exact same time, the state of Nevada was broke and bleeding from the Great Depression. They made a fateful, ruthless choice. They legalized casino gambling and 6-week divorces. Vice wasn't just a side hustle, it was a literal survival strategy.
That was the spark that ignited the Strip. In 1941, a joint called El Rancho Vegas proved a highly dangerous, totally magnetic concept. If you build pure glamour in the middle of a hostile, unforgiving desert, desperate people will cross that wasteland to get to it. It was the very first resort-style casino, and it proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the desert could make you incredibly, wildly rich.
But that kind of money attracts sharks. Bugsy Siegel was shot dead in his girlfriend's Beverly Hills living room, his left eye blown out by a .30 caliber carbine round. See, this wasn't some sanitized corporate venture. It was a real-world mob thriller. Violent, lawless men funded the glamorous Flamingo resort. Siegel had this vision of a luxury oasis rivaling Monte Carlo. But when his initial efforts lost the syndicate's money, he paid for that failure with his blood.
It created this bizarre paradox. Organized crime syndicates were draining Teamster pensions just to build America's ultimate public playground. The mob actually had a perverse kind of civic pride in Vegas. And why wouldn't they? The nicer the resort, the more cash they could skim straight out of the counting rooms. The sheer blinding glamour of the Rat Pack performing in these air-conditioned oases was the perfect cover. It completely masked the FBI agents tracking their every single move.
And as if the mobsters weren't enough, there was a much bigger threat looming just off the Strip: 900. That massive number represents a surreal, almost terrifying reality of the 1950s. The government detonated 900 nuclear devices just 65 miles away from those roaring casino floors.
Literally anywhere else on the planet, people would have panicked at the sight of mushroom clouds rising over the dawn horizon. But Vegas? Vegas threw parties. They hosted dawn bomb parties. They actually crowned a Miss Atomic Bomb. They took the pure, apocalyptic terror of nuclear annihilation and spun it into a crowded, highly profitable tourist attraction. It proved their ultimate, unspoken rule: absolutely everything is show business.
But the mob's violent grip was becoming a major liability. The real shift happened in 1966 when Howard Hughes rolled into town. This deeply eccentric billionaire checked into the penthouse of the Desert Inn, refused to check out, and then simply bought the hotel instead. He launched a massive $300 million buying spree, bringing in the legitimate, squeaky clean corporate money needed to finally bleed the organized crime syndicates dry. From there, the stakes escalated at a terrifying pace. Visionary promoters like Steve Wynn triggered a ruthless corporate war. Iconic old casinos were literally packed with explosives and blown to dust just to clear the way for billion-dollar fantasies. The Mirage at $630 million, the Cosmopolitan at $3.9 billion, City Center at an astronomical $8.5 billion. The bets grew relentlessly higher, building an adults-only theme park on a foundation of sand.
The real ruthless extraction, though, that happens inside the walls. It's weaponized behavioral psychology. They remove the clocks and the windows to completely erase your sense of time. They trigger massive dopamine dumps using near-miss mechanics on the slot machines. They deploy variable ratio reinforcement schedules to keep you pulling the lever. Every busy carpet pattern, the very oxygen levels you're breathing, it's all a trap, meticulously engineered to extract maximum wealth from captive visitors, including you. Strip away that neon facade, and the contrast is devastating. Up above ground, you've got 150,000 luxury rooms and Michelin star dining. Down below, a completely different world.
hundreds of individuals living in subterranean flood tunnels, surviving in pure pitch-black darkness, right beneath the feet of wealthy tourists dropping thousands on bottle service. It's a city built entirely on fantasy, desperately masking peak foreclosure rates and devastating economic crashes.
And right now, the ultimate, undefeated antagonist is closing in for the kill. Nature itself. Lake Mead, the city's one and only water supply, has plummeted to its lowest level since the 1930s, relentlessly shrinking in a desert that almost never sees a drop of rain. This drought is so severe, the receding waterline is literally exposing long-submerged human remains. The very foundation of this entire empire is evaporating into the dry desert air.
It's a city that defies all logic, a staggering monument to human ambition, reinvention, and ruthless extraction. Las Vegas is, at its core, a high-stakes bet placed against the desert itself. So far, it's winning, but when the water finally runs out, the house always loses.